What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Geeks Reign Supreme, technically the first episode ever. I am your host for today's episode, Eric, the Western Senpai. Why did I have that? That was hard for me to think of. Whatever.
It's all good, dude.
I'm joined with Chris, the multiversal wizard. What's going on, man?
Hello, how are you?
I'm chilling, man. Clearly, I have the jitters for hosting.
Dude, it's okay. You get into the sway of it
Right?
once you start doing it a couple times. Yeah,
So, thank you. I have your teachings. So, speaking of teachings, and you wearing a Star Wars shirt, the Bad Batch, man. The Bad Batch. So first of all, before we get into the Bad Batch, and I just realized this, you and I are huge Star Wars fans, to say the least. Like, what? I'm just curious because I've never even asked you this as like friends for years.
Sure.
What got you into Star Wars? Like, how did that start?
All right, so this is sort of an interesting story, I guess, but it's like the origins of Chris. But when I was very little, my dad worked at a high school, still works at the high school, but he's a teacher. And he would take me in the summers essentially to babysit me, right? Because he would work summers doing maintenance stuff around the school to make some extra money.
Yeah.
And what he would do is he introduced me to like the IT director at the time there, who was also doing work during the summer. And basically he was like, oh, like bring him over to my office. I want to show him some cool stuff. You can come and see the cool stuff too. It's crazy. So I went to the office and it was just a bunch of like Star Wars figures and like replica lightsabers. And dude, I'm talking about like shit that would definitely be worth stuff today.
In his office at the school?
Yeah. And dude, so he was a super mega nerd, like geek. And I saw all that stuff and I was like, whoa. So I would hang out with the kids that did IT, with the IT director during the summers. A lot of the summers, I would continuously go back summers with my dad, and I would hang out with all the IT people, and we would basically like play Xbox, and they would set up different stuff, and we would talk about like, oh, fucking superhero films and X-Men when they were dropping. We would have Star Wars movie marathons on like the projector in the library, essentially. That was my that was my first time playing an Xbox 360 or Call of Duty, was during those summers. But he is a humongous Star Wars fan, and he really introduced me to Star Wars to the point where he also named his son like I think his middle name is Lucas, or it's like his name is Christopher Lucas something.
That's awesome.
But Ramirez, I believe, is the last name. I said something. I know who they are.
Shout out to Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, Omi Ramirez. Yeah. Thank you, man. You taught me a lot, man. You're a huge reason as to why I'm as obsessed with geek pop culture and stuff like that today. So
that's pretty cool. Thank you. That's dope.
Yeah, that's my origin story.
That's cool. That's super dope. Funny enough, though, that like you said, he named his kid Lucas. For those of you that don't know, my son is named Lucas, and we did name him after George Lucas. So he doesn't know that yet because he's only 2, but the day he finds out, it'll be pretty sweet. So I have another question then, going in before we get into the Bad Batch, because I think I know the answer you're going to give me, and it's kind of expected if you enjoy the Bad Batch. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Dude, honestly, it is Revenge of the Sith. It's not the Clone Wars.
Yeah, same.
I love the Clone Wars.
Revenge of the Sith is...
But there was a lot of stuff in the... This is another one of those things, man. It's just... It happens, right? There are things that you look back on certain films, especially in geek pop culture, and you look at lines or scenes and you're just like, what, dude? All of the stuff with Anakin and Padme in the Clone Wars. Yo, all of it. He's like... You're so soft, or he says some shit like that. But I saw a video and it was just, oh man, huge fan of the abridged for the prequels as well. But yeah, I did grow up originally not watching like 4, 5, and 6.
Really? You never saw it as a kid?
No, as a kid I didn't. Wow. First thing I saw, I think, for Star Wars, I mean, I might have watched them, but in the library when I was very young, like with all of the people that were watching in the library with us. Like, I don't know. It made an impact. It did. Like, I remember scenes and stuff, but I wasn't able to grasp onto any actual plot back then. I thought lightsabers were super cool, but my actual introduction was episode 1 and like watching it in theaters.
Nice. Yeah, so, luckily for me, I grew up with the VHSs at home. My dad has like always been a huge nerd, and he gravitated more towards Star Trek. But when Star Wars came out, it was the same shit. Like, well, not the same shit, but it was still that like space sci-fi, just more epic, more of an opera than a technical show. So my dad actually had like the VHSs for 4, 5, and 6 at home. And dude, I like we destroyed those things so much so that my dad was the one that like took me to go see episode 1. Nice. So
yeah, my dad might have liked Star Wars, but he definitely wasn't into, like, he wasn't as expressive, I think, when I was younger to like his geek endeavors. Because some of his favorite films are like The Matrix and stuff like that.
My dad too. My dad straight up goes from like being a huge nerd, like he looks like a nerd too, and being like, I love Star Trek and like I like all these things. And my dad's like, yeah, my favorite movie's Top Gun. And
my dad loves Top Gun too, man. I've said it before. Our dads would get along. They like a lot of the same types of movies, man.
They would, yeah, dude. My dad's like 3 favorite movies of all time. This is super off topic. Are like Top Gun, Apocalypse Now, and I want to say Rush, which is like a Formula 1 movie. And dude. And then my dad has that side of him, but then he has the side that introduced me to like geek and pop culture, which is like he loves Star Wars, loves Star Trek, loves Lord of the Rings. Like when the first movie came out, I was like 5, and he took me to go see it. Yeah, I think it was like 91, 99 or something like that. It was like early 2000s. I was a kid, and my dad was like, "Yeah, let's go watch Lord of the Rings. Come on." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, for me.
Back. Sorry. Go.
No, I was gonna say for me it was a lot like cartoons, and then Omi and the IT Crew, like during the summers. That was my introduction really to all that stuff.
That's still dope, man. You had better summers than I did. My mom would legit put me in summer camp.
I didn't love summer camp too much.
No, I hated it. I didn't like the summer camp kids. All my friends stayed at home or went to summer school, and my mom put me in summer camp. So that wasn't fun. But Bad Batch, man. Bad Batch. The point of this episode, the reason you guys have tuned in to watch, besides our adoring faces, what did you... I was... All right. I'm going to be honest. Before I saw Bad Batch, I was super skeptical.
Okay.
Like, very. I didn't know what to expect.
What were you skeptical about? Exactly.
Just everything, I think, like for me, it was the fact that it was another animated Star Wars series. We had just gotten off of the grittiness of The Mandalorian and the advancement of technology The Mandalorian did. Also how dark season 7 of Clone Wars was. So the fact that we were getting and the fact that it was another clone show, I felt like, dude, 7 seasons of it. We just got done with Clone Wars. I don't want more clones. I keep wanting stuff from the Old Republic.
Same.
That's what I want to see multiple Jedi go toe to toe with multiple Sith. But any Star Wars content makes me happy at the end of the day. However, with Bad Batch, I legit when I saw the trailer, and mind you, their little mini arc with Echo in season 7, I thought was really cool. Okay. I loved all of them. I thought they were great characters. But when they announced a show, I swear to God, my reaction was like this, right? I was looking at my phone. They're like, Bad Batch show coming out. And I swear I went, oh my God, bro, come on. Just because we've had Clone Wars since the mid to early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I wanted that change up. Boy, was I super wrong.
Well, I mean, because this isn't really... of course it is the clones, and it's heavily it's clones. Yes. but it's not, it's post Order 66 clones, which is a big difference. It's something we've never 100%. Gotten really. We've gotten a ton of stuff in Legends, which is the the books, and a ton of stuff in comic books as well. But on a screen, we hadn't really gotten any what would be considered today Disney Lucasfilm canon. Post Order 66 stuff, and this starts playing right in the beginning.
Oh, so dude, I mean, they went as far as to
episode
go like,
1.
Episode 1, yeah, man. It didn't even start at Order. It started before Order 66.
Yeah, technically, like a couple of minutes.
Yeah. They were like, "Yo, this is what's going on. By the way, here's Order 66." And I feel like that's what made me start to approach it in a positive aspect. When I started watching it, I greatly didn't like I said. I went into it thinking I wouldn't like it. I was still gonna watch it because it's Star Wars. But once like the episode started and I was like, oh cool, they're still doing like the Clone Wars and all that shit. This is exactly what I thought it would be. And then like 2 minutes in, you see like Kanan, and I have like the Star Wars comics for Kanan, so like I knew like what happened with him and Master Bilaba or whatever her name is.
I think so. I think
it's like Master Bilaba, Pilababa, something like that. So like it is
Star Wars, man.
It's like it's Master Bilaba, Master something like that, man. So like I saw that and I was like, oh dude, this looks familiar. And then like in the distance you hear execute Order 66, and I was like, it's happening, yeah. And then like going from there, I was like, dude, this is really like uncharted territory. Like besides Jedi Fallen Order
or that scene, even Revenge of the Sith, where like they do it and they show us just little snippets of people realizing it and getting taken down.
Exactly, but they never show us, at least to my knowledge, with like what Disney has now made canon, we never do see what happens immediately after. In the Vader comics, and that's about it. Because in the Vader comics, we see it from his perspective. Yeah. But in terms of in live action and really like diving into it from the other side's perspective, you don't. Yeah. So I thought that was dope. What did you think it was going to be, just out of curiosity?
I mean, I was excited for it off rip. I had a little bit of a different impression. Yeah, I was just like, fuck yeah, like more. Like we get more Star Wars content. I'm never opposed to the content. I mean,
that's true.
You know, I look at something, they drop something in the grand scheme of a universe that has been created by someone and then expanded on by many other minds. I take anything thrown my way as like, oh, if I like it, I'll watch it. If I don't like it, I won't watch it or read it or whatever form of content it is.
Fair, as it should be too, I think.
But I was excited. I was like, hell yeah. Seeing how good the ending of the Clone Wars looked and like just how far everything had come from the beginning of the Clone Wars to that finale, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Seeing that, I wanted more. I was like, dang, we got that for one season. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I loved a bunch of the Clone Wars show, but for me, they had accomplished something they hadn't before. And I was like, okay, I want more of this. And then they announced the Bad Batch. Now, do I think it was like really soon after? Yeah, it felt like I was like, oh snap, like that's like how much of this has really been planned. You know, they've been working on The Mandalorian too, but then again, like, because this is Dave Filoni too, right?
So I think that's the first credit that rolls. It's like based on the character.
Okay, that's what that's
produced by Dave Filoni.
Because he's the one that's going to, he's the one that's picked up the mantle, I guess, of like what George Lucas left on.
That's what half of us like to think. That's a whole nother topic, bro. That comes down into the whole like Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni theory, and like the whole Lucas.
Oh, I don't even know about those theories. I don't even know about that. Crazy. So, but
he is known to have been George Lucas's like apprentice in terms of like Star Wars. Like he was always with him. He was with him during Clone Wars. He invented Ahsoka. He wrote like a lot of the big plots of like Mandalorian, Clone Wars, and I think even Rebels with George Lucas's like either help or approval. So
he's very much has a huge imprint on the series and the franchise.
100%
for sure.
100%.
But he's given us some good stuff, some very good stuff, like you said, Ahsoka, right? So I was just like, man, he's giving us a whole new Bad Batch of clones. You know, the Bad Batch was already a pretty cool concept of the mutated clones. I
did like that a lot.
Even the regs, as they call them, right? The regular clones, they don't like the Bad Batch because they're outcasts. They're people who aren't like them, which is super weird, right? They're freaking clones. But and how many times do you see that the clones want to like differentiate themselves somehow other than their names? But
well, even what they do to their helmets and
that's what I mean. Like Rex and the putting the tallies and stuff like that. Yep. But I was really excited. I was very excited about it. And when I started to watch it, I was very excited as well. I mean, I have differing thoughts from beginning to end of the season, but we'll, I'm sure, get to those specific things as we continue to talk. But I was excited. I was super pumped. I was like, nice. Yeah, more. Give us more.
Did that first episode live up to that excitement, you think? Like when you first started?
Yes and no. I mean, it definitely felt like the thing is that it left the impression that I think a lot of people don't realize is purposely done, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the first episode is longer than the rest and will be cared for cinematically more.
I can agree. I think so.
I think that there's a way larger attention to detail in the first episode and the last two than there is in the middle. That's not to say they completely, ripped out the rug and it was just crud in the middle. But I think it was better in the first and the last, the same way that like a lot of the last parts of the Clone Wars were really like big, especially those last couple episodes were like freaking like a movie. It looked like a movie rather than a show.
Oh, definitely. Especially in terms of just like quality in the animation and the storytelling, the acting, the lighting, everything.
So I watched the first episode and I was like, this is freaking awesome. I'm really excited. And then, it's not to say that that's even what took me away from it. I noticed it and I was like, okay, I get what they're doing. I get it. They're focusing on the first and last rather than the in-betweens, right? But there were... No, it was good. It was good. I don't have too many complaints. I don't want to try to like really rip it apart like too bad because I enjoyed it. I watched it and I had a good time. And I was like filled with nostalgia while also being like, holy smokes, this is something I've wanted to see so badly. And to see the reactions. We're lucky to be seeing it from the Bad Batch's perspective because everybody else got turned. So, for the most part, like if we weren't watching it from their perspective, we're watching it from Ahsoka and Rex, like their perspective. Or I'm pretty sure it's like, one of the only times where we see it enacted in the Clone Wars, and it's like triggered. Aside from a couple episodes within the Clone Wars where there were like defective chips and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they like acted prematurely. But yeah, I think you're right in terms of like a full-on event, because even in Revenge of the Sith, it was just like you said earlier, it was like little pocket moments where you see, like you saw what happened to like Ki-Adi-Mundi, Isla Sakura, and like it was those little mini 30
it was just snippets
scenes
of like, and then they get shot.
Very depressing music.
Oh yeah, well I mean, dude, that is a pretty big moment.
Oh my god, they got murdered. And it's a shame we're doing this podcast after season 7 of Clone Wars because I could talk about those final 2 episodes.
And we can get to that sometime. We can make a video on it. A little special 100%. Bonus feature.
But no, I think you're right. Besides that moment with Ahsoka and Rex, and Maul and all that stuff in the last episode of Clone Wars, this is really the only other time that we get to see an entire story being told through Order 66. Yeah. Because for Ahsoka it was a big deal. We realized how Rex finally explained he never betrayed his Jedi. Well, not explained it, but we got to see what he meant by that. We saw Maul escape and how he vanished. We saw Ahsoka disappear and how she vanished. Even Rex too.
The scene with Vader at the end of Clone Wars.
Oh, where she finds her lightsabers,
core, dude. Shook me to my core. That was amazing. Beautiful. Oh my god.
I would have loved to know what he was thinking in that moment.
You see what I mean, though? Every little thing leaves you with like, I would have loved to see more. Like I want more. God. But we get some of that stuff in Rebels, though.
Yes, and Rebels does a very good job of capturing the relationship between like Ahsoka and Vader.
Definitely.
And this is a huge dude. Star Wars we could talk about forever.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
No, I feel, but it is cool. That was my favorite thing about Bad Batch, and I kept telling Ariel that I think because I really wanted to try to get her into Clone Wars, and she wasn't a big fan of the animation, and I kind of fucked up on my part where I showed her episode 1. Right. Yeah. So have you seen like the guides on like Reddit and stuff like that where you watch Clone Wars in chronological order? Like no. It's not, you don't start with episode 1. You start with like episode 4 or season 4, like episodes 1 through 10. Then you go to like season 1. Like it's crazy. And it does it in the timeline order of events. You've never seen that?
I didn't even realize that the order of events were so like out of place.
Because every episode they tell, or pretty much every episode or every few episodes, they tell a story from a different group of clones. The only continuity that you can really count on is anytime you're seeing, at least from what I've noticed, anytime you're seeing anything with like main characters, right? Like Obi-Wan, Maul, Dooku, Ventress, Anakin, or Ahsoka, and anything that like episodes that are solely based on clones, apparently based on this guide that's on Reddit, it's like those events are like scattered. Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't paint the full picture like the Clone Wars. So I fucked up and I showed her episode 1, which was very boring. Like I'm a huge fan of Clone Wars, and it's Yoda on a random planet fighting simple ass battles.
Yeah, I remember it was the bet to see who they were gonna side with, whether it would be the Separatists or the Republic. And Yoda's...
Ventress shows up episode 1, and Ariel's like, who the fuck is this? And I was like, that's a good point. Like, they're not introducing Ventress to you. Like, she's just there off rip.
Doesn't the Clone Wars series technically pick up after the Clone Wars micro series?
No, the Clone Wars micro series ends with episode 3 starting. You don't remember that? Are you talking about the old cartoon?
But it starts before. Yeah, but it starts before because he cuts off his like Padawan braid. Yeah.
So, but the Clone Wars micro series, you're talking about the cartoon from when we were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one, I haven't seen it in years, but I specifically remember the final episode is actually Mace Windu chasing Grievous and Grievous catching Palpatine and escaping. Like I'm 90% sure that's the last episode.
So we would just assume that Ahsoka wasn't there. Like that was around the time where she like rode.
Yeah, because remember she leaves the Jedi Order. Damn. And then, so actually no, we don't have to assume. We know that because in season 7 Clone Wars, she's on the hologram conversation with like Obi-Wan and everybody, and they're like, oh, Grievous captured Palpatine. We need to go.
Yeah, those events are happening in that like last
at the same time. Yeah. Super side tangent, but
it's not though. It's not because you know what? The Clone Wars is bad. Literally, the first episode starts with Clone Wars, and then it burns off, and it says Bad Batch.
Dude,
it's a continuation of the Clone Wars.
Can we talk about that for a second?
It is.
Did you enjoy that? I don't know why. Did you realize that in the first episode, it like you said, it says Clone Wars, and then it burns off as Bad Batch? Did you notice the announcer where he's like, Separatist forces have gathered on the planet of da-da-da-da-da, and the Bad Batch are going, and then he never does it again?
Oh, yeah. The guy that would originally announce the beginning of every Clone Wars episode was there. I did realize that. Yeah.
That was awesome.
And I did also think that was really freaking cool. No, it was. It was a beautiful transition from Clone Wars to Bad Batch, especially considering we get introduced to all of the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars. Yeah, that final season. There was a full arc about them, including the rescue of Echo, which was a clone that had been captured and was tortured and all this stuff.
That's an amazing series, man. So I tried showing it to Ariel. I explained to her it's super good. Okay, let's get into spoiler territory because we've been pretty good on no spoilers so far in this conversation.
I don't know about that. I'm actually we can make if anything, we'll make a little snippet and put a spoiler warning in the beginning. We'll edit that in there, but
So obviously I'm curious to know about like your thoughts. I've heard a lot of mixed messages just being on TikTok, Twitter, and all that stuff about Omega. Okay. So just to give like a recap, And for those people listening or whatever that don't care for the spoilers, Omega is a clone similar to the Bad Batch, where she was mutated, and her specific mutation was that she doesn't age. She is literally, in terms of the show, Boba Fett's sister. And the way Jango Fett wanted Boba Fett as his as his payment for the clone army, he wanted an unaltered clone that wouldn't age or anything. The Kaminoans, the people on Kamino that make the clones, made Omega a girl version of Boba Fett for themselves. Also a completely unaltered clone, doesn't rapidly age. She is a child in the show, I would assume. I'm sure we could Google it.
Actually,
I want to say she's
just to correct you, she actually ages 2 times slower than a normal human.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah. So she's actually even older. And the thing is that, like, so it's 2 times slower than a normal human and 4 times slower than a clone.
So then that's why when she, in the final episode, when she's like, technically I'm older than you.
No, she's older.
She's been alive for...
Yeah, she's been alive for longer than we think, yeah.
Yeah, wow. And and you know what? That goes to show you why she's so mature in her headspace.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, yes and no. Okay, well, she is.
She's innocent.
She's a clone that's been held in that lab for how long? For a long time, probably, considering she's been there for most of her life, if not all her life.
We can assume she's like 8. She seems like an 8 to 10-year-old. That's the vibe I get just based on her appearance. If she ages 2 times slower, she's technically a teenager.
Yeah, I would assume she's a teenager. And I think she is. It's more like what she's been taught. You know what I mean? Like the things that she knows.
Yeah.
If she's not taught to be a mature person, or like, you know, they treated her like a kid, and so she was kind of like a kid. But that's like her mutation. Aside from aging like a normal, unlike a normal clone, it's even unlike a human. She may. Yeah. I don't know. This may be stretching it a little bit, but I was gonna say she may be older than Boba.
Theory-wise, yeah, it could be. Because Boba, do we know if Boba ages 2 times slower than the average human?
No.
Or is Boba
I understood that he ages like a normal person.
Normal. So then, if that's the case, we can assume that Omega. I think Omega would still be younger. I think the Kaminoans came up with that idea, maybe after Jango suggested it. But, you know, and these are the type of things that I'm so happy we are getting a season 2. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot I want to see. There's a lot I still want to see, and we'll talk about that, and we'll dive deeper into that now. But
I have so many questions after that season finale. So then, okay, so what did you think about that, though? Because like I said, on Twitter, on TikTok, on social media, I read a lot of people that hated it and a lot of people that loved it. I personally liked it a lot. I thought it was super cool. I really enjoyed the concept of it. I was just curious as to, like, what did you think of it? Like, the fact that now Boba Fett isn't as special as
I still think he is. I still think he is. I think he's the most, like, he's a clone that ages the same way as Jango. Like, he's the least mutated, if that makes any sense. So he's like the most true clone to Jango Fett, I think. Aside from the fact that he grew up, you know, fighting and doing all of these really, like, crazy stuff tactically, and like I said, becoming a bounty hunter so young, out of spite.
Bounty hunter.
Yeah. And she was always more innocent, like you said.
Right.
I didn't always love it because, you know, a lot of times it's like, I'm watching it from my perspective, from the outside perspective, and I'm like, yo, the obvious choice you should, like, the logical choice would be to let this person, like leave this person behind, or so on and so forth, right? Because they could either handle themselves, or they're trying to tell you not to go on this mission because you pose a risk to the mission. Like, that's just it, right? But she's like, I want to go on the mission. It's like, okay, but like, no, because it's like, it's risky taking you. Yeah. But I do understand that they are still trying to connect, right, and give a dynamic between Hunter and Omega, especially,
Yeah.
which is more of a like father-daughter vibe, I feel, going than a brother-sister, even though
Yeah,
they're
I would
technically
agree.
brothers and sister.
I think it reminds me more of like an Ahsoka Anakin relationship, where it's like that balance, because when Anakin first had Ahsoka, and 90% of the fandom hated her because she was
Yeah,
that
she could be annoying sometimes too. Yeah.
That's she was the Omega of the Clone Wars. I feel, so
At the end of the day, though, I was able to kind of like overlook it just because of the fact that Omega is just who she is. Like that, like all of this plays into her character and how truly just like faithful she is, and how loyal she is to the people that she cares about, and like everybody, and how she values life, and so on and so forth. Especially, which is such a contrast to so many of the clones, and like to Crosshair especially, who's like, I'll kill anybody. Like I don't care. And he proves that in that episode where he kills his like crew, like the people that were with him.
Yeah.
In the finale.
Okay. Question, because you went into a perfect tangent that I didn't think of going into.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe, and we're going to be all over the place just
No,
for this,
say it, because I actually think I know what you're going to say. Say it.
Do you believe Crosshair at the end when he said that he removed it?
I don't believe him.
I don't either.
I don't believe him. And a lot of people don't believe him.
The Empire wants you to think,
A
bro,
lot of
but-
people don't believe him. I honestly don't even think. I think he's fully aware that he has one.
I don't, man.
What?
Do you remember?
No, he has to. At this point, they've removed theirs.
No
like,
way. But
yes,
the thing is, I think it's in like the second or third episode when he's under, and the admiral, I forget his name. I'm sure you have it written down. The guy that's been like in charge of Camino this whole time.
Admiral
Rampart.
Yep, I did write it down.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, look, my chaos.
Hey, yeah, I have my notes on my monitor over here.
Sick.
He tells the doctor, he's like, crank his inhibitor chip all the way up.
Yeah.
I forget his exact words, but he tells her something along the lines of like, turn it all the way as strong as you can. And I think what that does, just because we've never experienced that also, the chips have never been toyed with. We've seen them get ripped out of their skulls, right? Like in a medical procedure, and we've seen them malfunction where they activate early, or they just turn on Order 66. But to have that type of loyalty, because at this point it's not kill Jedi, right? At this point it's like Crosshair's version is, the Empire is God, yo. Like he is so.
I don't think it is though. I don't think it. I think it's more like, and I heard someone say this in a video, and I feel the same way. Where it's like,
Shoot.
he wants to just be on the winning side. He was born a soldier, and at this point, his directive and purpose in life is to still remain a soldier, and he wants to be the soldier for the winning side, and he believes firmly that it is the Empire, and for the most part, he's not fucking wrong, like they do rule for quite a good amount of time. So
It's gonna be a while till they lose.
yeah. So he's not really wrong, but
Luke is just born, man.
I mean, so a lot of this goes into the questions, right? Really important questions, and most of them revolve around this, which is like the inhibitor chips themselves. All of these clones were originally made for the Republic and installed with inhibitor chips to basically make sure that they remained loyal, right?
Yes.
However, there was a let's just say like an underlying code that if Order 66 was activated, they would all turn, and basically they would rule under the Empire, and they would serve the Empire loyally without fault, right?
And that comes
However,
down to Palpy, man.
Yep, Palpatine. However, we've seen in the Clone Wars that there were inhibitor chips that were defective. That was a big plot line in the last season, the original last season of the Clone Wars.
100%.
With was it Fives that his inhibitor chip was also
Fives got his removed. Fives was the first one to get his removed, and that's why that was such a big deal of. I'm pretty sure bro, it's been years. I'm pretty sure Fives was the first one to get his removed, and
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I do agree.
Somebody's malfunctioned.
Yes, and they were like, good soldiers follow orders. And I think that's the first time we hear that line, good soldiers follow orders, which is like something that we didn't really understand. Like, that's what they're receiving. Like, they're like,
yes.
When that inhibitor chip hears like Order 66, the message being sent into their brains that they think is theirs is good soldiers follow orders.
I agree. And I think it was that clone. I don't remember excuse me.
It could have been a throwaway clone, but...
Yeah, it was a clone, and then I think Fives was the first one to discover the inhibitor chip and like figure it all out. And I think he was the first one to get it removed.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong.
So we saw it malfunction.
Right.
That already was something like, okay, there's like a little more to these inhibitor chips. They're not perfect, right? That's kind of the takeaway from that. I think, aside from it being a plot device to show us, yo, it's happening. Like, somebody figured this out before it was gonna pop off. Then we saw, Rex had a moment, even though he did technically like start following when Order 66 happened, he still fought it. You could see that he fought it.
Had tears coming down his face.
You could see, that was, jeez, freaking Louise. But you could see that he still sort of fought it versus everyone else that didn't. Right. And then we get introduced to somebody by the name of Hauser, Captain Hauser, which is the one that's on Ryloth with Hera and their family, her family. And he is a clone we haven't been introduced to, that I'm aware of.
No. And not that I remember either.
And it seems to be that he still has his inhibitor chip. However, it seems to be wearing off somehow. Like, its effects seem to be wearing off. And he starts to notice, and he's making his own decisions, saying, I feel like we've been helping these people for so long. This is what the Empire is doing, is in conflict to Ryloth's well-being, right? After having fought for it in the Clone Wars.
Right. And
decided to side with Hera and the Bad Batch and Cham and all those people to save them.
Right.
And so that, to me, was one of the more pivotal ones, because I think that's the first time we really see it. Like, this person still has the chip, and it's a reg, and they are now just weaning off of it, kind of. And there's no real reason as to why.
See, so with Hauser, I had so many questions that, again, like, I wish I could meet Dave Filoni and be like, question. I don't think his was weaning down. Like, of course, I could be wrong. This is just me speculating, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They never confirmed nor denied that.
They left that so ambiguous.
Yes, 100%.
They left it so ambiguous.
The way I saw it, or the way I interpreted it when watching that episode, was Order 66 is just plain and simple, kill the Jedi. Like,
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So I don't think that part. If there were Jedi on Ryloth, he did it, right? Because they weren't there when the Bad Batch got there. He did his job. I don't think. That's why part of me also thinks that Crosshairs is cranked up to like 1 million, because, like, to my knowledge, you know what? I got my computer right here. What is Order 66? So we can get little technical.
I think it's just to, like, number one, it was to follow.
Oh, right here, bro. This is StarWarsFandom.com.
Go read it.
I'll read you the exact definition.
Go.
Order 66, also known as Clone Protocol 66, was a top-secret order identifying all Jedi as traitors to the Galactic Republic, and therefore subject to summary execution by the Grand Army of the Republic. That's it. Straight up. Jedi are traitors. Kill them.
So you're saying that now that their directive of kill the Jedi is done, that they're starting to just be like, now what the heck? Like, everything else is fair game?
No, I think that it's just that. Like, I don't think that Hauser... That falls under, like, my theory as to why I think Crosshairs is cranked up to 1 million. Because, one, Admiral Rampart said to do it. Two, I think it's just straight up, hey, Order 66, kill the Jedi. All right, go back to being a soldier. by the way, just so you know, you're still a soldier for us, but now we're called the Empire. Remember the whole speech they had with Palpatine and stuff?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to refer to that, because I felt like everyone there was like, yeah, like
because,
they were excited and happy.
But it's like what you said about Crosshair. They won the war. And we know from Clone Wars is like a very like Vietnam style show for the clones, especially their episodes, where you know like they like fighting and they like going after the clankers and all that stuff.
It's their objective. Their primary objective is like
they want the war to they want the war to end. They always talk about like, oh, and what are you gonna do when this is done? I don't know. I just want to kill clankers, and it's like, but like a lot of them do question like what's after this. Yeah, and it's the fact that they finally saw they got there.
Dude, with the deserter. Do you remember the deserter? I forget what his actual name is.
I don't remember. I haven't seen Clone Wars since like 2015.
We see the deserter in the episode where they go to. It's like the first planet they go to visit, I think.
Yes.
Once they've defected with the clone that we met, and he was only in one episode of the Clone Wars. That's where we met him originally.
He has the daughter that. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
So
that's like the first episode they go to.
That's another person that was really cool to see. That was a clone that didn't even follow Order 66 to begin with. Never got influenced or impacted by that.
Well, he didn't even have the radio call to tell him like.
He didn't have anything. He was just chilling. Yeah. He was like, "What the heck?"
I'm sure he still has his inhibitor chip, but like.
I don't think he does. Yeah. No, dude. I think there's. From the way that I've heard it explained by a couple people, like he was the only one that didn't follow it. Like there was no reason for him to follow it, and that implied something. But
didn't he desert before Order 66?
Bro, beats me.
He had to have. I think.
I don't know, but he I mean,
season 2 better give me answers, man.
Oh, they're gonna give us answers, and honestly, so one of the things. Actually, let's finish the Crosshair thing first. I think that it is true. Right, that he still has his inhibitor chip. I think he was lying about removing it fully.
Same.
I think that he knows that he has one. I don't think he's pretending that he doesn't. Right. However, it's possible that it's so cranked and it's so doing its job that he's like, I don't care if there's an inhibitor chip. Good soldiers follow orders, and that's all he's doing. Like that's what I think is a more likely outcome to this, if he still has it, because the side of his face is burned where it would be, and so maybe maybe it got damaged, maybe it got removed, maybe he's kind of like lying a little bit about how it's no longer has effect on him. And he's still just like torn. Maybe he doesn't want to look like an idiot, and he doesn't want to be like, oh shit, I was wrong. I was under the influence of this the whole time, and I've been trying to kill you.
See, but I feel like Crosshair, just based on his personality, from what we know in Clone Wars and the Bad Batch,
side with the Empire.
He doesn't give a shit. Well, yeah, but he also doesn't give a shit what people.
He was always kind of an ass. He was always kind of a jerk, 100%. Even in the Clone Wars like episodes.
But I don't think he would care. I don't think he'd be like, oh, maybe I should, just say my chip got removed just in case. So
that he would be like stubborn. And he would be like,
I don't care.
Yeah.
Crosshair would straight be like, yeah, I took it out. So, fuck you. Like.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't find it
too. It's very unapologetic. And I think it's funny too that you mentioned that the side of his face that's burnt is the side where the inhibitor chip would be, and that's Dave Filoni, man. He's like, you'll never know.
Yeah, right.
I did that on purpose. Good luck. Asshole. He knows people are doing these podcasts.
But I'm hoping that a lot of this and based on what other people have said, right, that it kind of feels like season 1 dragged on in a lot of ways, especially with the episodes with Sid where they're trying to pay back their debt to Sid and they're just taking on missions and stuff.
I agree. I did like Sid. I was very tired of like the episode where they saved the baby Rancor.
Yeah. Things like that were very well. It was like a 3-episode spree of like fillers or what felt like fillers, with small moments, right? Because I think there's only maybe one fully filler episode in there, and it's the one with the guy that has the horns and like the cat.
Oh yeah, that he takes like Sid's gang or whatever.
Yeah, it was that one. That guy's probably gonna show up again. Obviously, it seems a 100%. Little bit like stupid to have that full episode happen. And then they're not gonna. They do that.
he'll be like a Hondo to them, I think, right? Like Hondo in
Okay.
Clone Wars, the pirate. I think he would be like a character similar like that. Like he's that side character. He's not
Hondo
really
is a
that
legend,
important.
dude. Hondo is literally in Disney World. Like that's
I know.
how
I said
freaking
his
popular
name.
he is.
I said his name and I heard his voice in my head immediately.
Same.
Like, immediately the raspy.
Oh!
I can't do it. Oh, Mr. Jedi, come. Hondo will help you. Like I don't know why, dude, but I think he will be the Bad Batch's version of that, right? That guy that you can't really trust. Sometimes he'll help.
Well, he
you,
mentioned
sometimes
his
he'll burn
mom
you.
was also like part of like a big villain
big
or
gang.
mafia like leader or something.
Yeah, because we know the Pikes, and we know the Red Suns or Red Dawn.
Are are those the ones with
Crimson Dawn?
the Crimson Dawn's
is
the
the
one with the spice?
With Maul. No, that's the Pikes.
Okay, those are the Pikes. Okay, which we
Yeah,
got introduced to. Yeah.
Crimson
Clone
Dawn
Wars.
is led by Darth Maul.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
That's the one that he owns. But and then obviously the Hutts. So I don't know what his mom is part of. But yeah, I agree. There were a lot of filler episodes that I was very like, eh. And then funny enough though, when I started to dislike that, I realized, well, okay, before I say what I'm about to say, Mando from Mandalorian is like easily in my top 3 favorite characters in all of Star Wars.
Okay, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I was watching Bad Batch and I was like, oh, these filler episodes are getting kind of like, I'm not feeling this. The show is starting to kind of like go downhill.
Yeah.
I was like, if I say that, I'm a hypocrite, because I didn't realize this until like recently. The format of Mandalorian is literally every other episode, right? Every other episode is one episode is story. Another episode is like random adventure. Then it's story, then random adventure, then story, then random adventure.
Okay.
Especially in season 2. Like it's literally every other episode. So with that in mind, and that season 2 is very much like that, season 2 a little bit like that, I was just like, you know what? I get why they're doing it, and it's so that they don't condense it. Because if you were to like just cut out all the filler of Bad Batch, in reality, I think you would have the first 2 episodes up until they rescue Omega, the last 2, and then the episode when the 2 episodes with Rex, like when they all remove their inhibitor chips, and then the next episode when they go to escape.
Yeah, but
I feel like you can watch the Bad Batch with those 6 episodes and get everything.
Yeah, but you're implying that you couldn't have replaced the filler episodes or the filler moments with more valuable information, like
You could.
which
You
is so like what a lot of people wanted to see, which is kind of where I was getting at, and where I think maybe season 2 might start to gear towards, right? Because a lot of people wanted to see the Empire's rise, right? Like them
Yes.
taking over, seeing how it
did too.
affects the citizens, which we did get some episodes that kind of showcased that, like the one with Hera and
Very
Cham.
little, though.
Ryloth, it was like 2 episodes. I mean, it was definitely, and that one was very like much more political and much more like,
Yes.
I mean, the first episode of those 2, because it was like a 2-part thing. The first episode, the whole entire Bad Batch cast was background characters. They weren't even in the episode until the end. So like, it focused very much on this place that during the Clone Wars was fighting to get their freedom, and I saw a video that showed Cham, which is Hera's dad, one of the leaders of the city, or he's just like a general, right? That's very much looked up to.
He's like their best warrior, like lead warrior, something like that.
Okay, so he has a conversation in the Clone Wars in an episode where the Jedi are saving Ryloth, and Mace Windu is there, and he tells Mace Windu, like, us having someone like a military force be here on our planet to protect us isn't really freedom. And he says, how long before we have to turn our like weapons against you, Jedi? And you know, it not necessarily happened in that way, but it's true. The clones were there, they saved them, and now the clones are taking over. Like the Empire is taking over, and now people are trying to, you know, already start rebellions and underground like civil war type stuff.
Yeah, Hera's uncle was smuggling weapons. And all
Yeah,
that
yeah, which was a big thing. And it was immediate. He was immediately like, I don't trust anybody. We need
like
weapons.
It was the next day. The what was it, the chancellor or whatever of like Ryloth was just like, yeah, we should listen to the Empire. They love us. Turn in your weapons. And then the next day, Hera's uncle was like, I'm gonna go meet with the Bad Batch, and they're gonna give me weapons. Like,
dude, Hera literally says it to him. She was like, didn't we just turn in our weapons yesterday? He's like, yeah, and we need more now.
Yeah.
So
he was quick. Man.
So seeing that, and then seeing that one episode 2 where the clones fight with the Separatists to save them, right? From that one planet with the guy that has the monocle.
Yes. Yeah.
So that episode was also really cool because, like, even though it was another like kind of boring filler type episode, we got to see the Bad Batch fight with the Separatists for the Separatists, technically. You know? Yeah,
it's one of those tricky things where the filler episodes were cool when you look back on them and the little Easter eggs and stuff, and you saw Bib Fortuna, because she was there to get I think it was Bib Fortuna that went to go get the baby Rancor. So,
dude, the Rancor episode is like the one I forget the most.
Right, but that's my point. Like, that's why I very much in my head I was like, dude.
It was also important because that was when Omega first like kind of defies their orders and says like, I can fight too. Right, so there's like little things that are important.
Correct. But and I think that was the first implication to like her being as smart as she is because of well, she tried and failed because they saw her. But like whatever little strategy she has or whatever source of tactfulness, right, is the word I'm looking for that she has.
I get what you're saying.
So, but those episodes, you can definitely watch the Bad Batch without them, and I feel like get the whole story. I do wish, though, those episodes showed Crosshair's perspective. That's just me.
Well, I
would have loved to see his.
It's interesting because like perspective is very important.
Absolutely.
It's an important theme in this, and in I think most shows in general, not even just Star Wars though, like in most things that involve conflict, to see both sides and both perspectives. There's a reason one side is doing one thing and a reason one side is doing the other, but what determines what is right or wrong? Is it morals or like
right? And the most famous line in all of Star Wars, besides "May the Force be with you," is from a certain point of view, which I think Yoda tells Luke on Dagobah. It's definitely a like original trilogy line where Luke always says it from a certain point of view. And it's the same thing from a certain point of view. What is happening? You know, who's right, who's wrong? You know, who has more to gain than the other? And it's, I don't know, man.
We got the perspective of that one soldier, right? When the episode with Saw Gerrera's Insurgents.
Yes.
And that's when Crosshair takes charge of the Death Troopers. There was a soldier in that unit. I think that Crosshair like kills the one that was being a jerk the whole time.
And he was also the one that stopped them from killing.
And he also mentioned that he was like. He mentioned that the Empire was giving him food and shelter and all this stuff, which is more than the Republic ever did for him. So it was a perspective of someone who was actually happy to be fighting for the Empire, because now we have the people who are conscripted soldiers, and are actually volunteering to join the Empire and become what would eventually be our beloved stormtroopers. And not the clone troopers.
and the fact that you say that, I would have loved an episode about that, because in certain episodes of Clone Wars, they imply how tragic the Clone Wars was to like some of the planets that were under, regardless if they were under Separatist control or Republic control, like a lot of planets and people were affected by the Clone Wars that A, didn't want the war, and B, didn't even fight in the war. And I think it's so not cool, because it's kind of like, it's clearly exploitation and the Empire sucks. But it's cool to see that, like you said, with that soldier, where he was like, yeah, during the Clone Wars, the Republic fucked me over. Like, my life was hell. You know, who knows, maybe a bomb dropped on his house and shit. And that goes back to Dave Filoni's, like, the way Clone Wars is a very clear representation of whether you want to see it and I might be reaching. It's just, but the parallels of war, where the way certain people react to the Clone Wars, and I mean characters, it's very similar to like Vietnam, and the way other characters react to it, it's very similar to Desert Storm and the war in Afghanistan and stuff like that. So it's cool to see a character like that they're like, the Republic fucked me over. The Empire's recruiting, absolutely. They're gonna feed me, absolutely. They're gonna give me shelter and protect my family and give me money, 100%. Instead, the Republic came to my planet, fought the Separatists, and then bounced, and my house was destroyed. You know what I mean? So it's very like, it's pretty deep without like really.
We got some of that as well in the Clone Wars with is it the Martinez sisters or the Ramirez sisters?
Oh god,
the two sisters that Ahsoka chills with.
Yeah, and like the first arc of Clone Wars, second arc of Clone Wars,
where
season 7,
where basically like they say it, they're like, where the heck were the Jedi when we needed them?
Yes,
like who the heck are you? Like, we don't care about the Republic or the Separatists. We're just trying to survive, and that's crazy, right? To a lot of people who don't understand, is that it's a galaxy far, far away. And galaxy implies big. Yeah. So there are people involved with the Separatists. There are people not involved with the Separatist Republic politics in general. There's a whole system of other things going on, which is why a lot of Star Wars fans want to pull away from the classic like Skywalker stuff and the classic Palpatine stuff, which we're going to get to that in this talk as well, because there are a lot of theories going around, but there are two popular ones. As to the stuff involving cloning and how important cloning has become to Star Wars. It already was, but it's more prevalent now, I think, than ever. Right?
Than ever. I would agree. I 100% agree.
Number one, there's two, right? So the first one is not so loved by fans. Not wanted, and I think I already know where you're gonna side, and I side with this as well, which is connecting all of the stuff that's happening with the clones and the Kaminoans and Lama Su and Nala Se, that it's leading to the cloning process of Snoke and Palpatine. That's number one. That's number one. Number two, which I also believe that it's definitely a lot of this is trying to tie to the films and so on and so forth to connect things and solidify things, which most people don't want that are fans. We want to get the hell away from Palpatine, please. Something dark side. I don't care anymore about that guy. I don't care anymore. I don't.
Him being Rey's grandfather was such a
okay, we're not talking about this right now. God, but the point is, Jesus. Obviously cloning and Palpatine, it's going to be involved somehow, but people are also saying the stuff with Grogu and Mandalorian, and this tying more directly to the Mandalorian and Grogu,
I think so,
than it is directly to Palpatine, because we know they eventually visit a Kaminoan lab that was in the sky on a different planet, right? You remember the episode with Cad Bane and Finnick?
And Finnick, and Bad Batch. Yeah.
So that episode showed us a lot of cool things. Side tangent from that, still in this episode, there's an Easter egg when Omega goes into one of the rooms. It's the chamber with the clones that are all like mucked up and screwed up, and it's like green tanks, and she starts to click buttons. The sounds for the buttons are the same exact sounds used for the original Bounty Hunter Star Wars game in the menu. Like when you would go to select, the doo 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 doo, it's the exact same sound that they used.
That's sick.
Yeah,
I didn't know
and
that.
when she's pressing the buttons, you can hear the sound. And I saw a video where someone played them side by side. It's exactly the same.
That's awesome.
So that's a little Easter egg. But going back into that room, right? Seeing that there was a whole other like city / lab for the Kaminoans that were doing what, right? Because the Kamino we've always known that produced the clones for the Republic was the Kamino that we've always known. Yeah, there was another name for it. I don't remember. It's like a place, but
he says it in episode 2. Yeah.
But it seems to be that Nala Se was obviously studying and testing and doing different experiments on different types of clones and cloning processes, possibly looking for a new template, right, for whatever reason, because we know that Boba Fett's original DNA was starting to wear, which is what we thought made Omega so special. It's not the only thing, turns out, right? But the question is like, could they have been doing something else? Like maybe are they heading towards creating a special unit just like the Bad Batch, where it's like super soldiers, right? Where they're doing mutations and creating commando units like the commando troopers that we saw as well, which was another big thing. And in this lab, there were a lot of commando units, a lot more than I think we've ever freaking seen. So that leads you to believe like, okay, this is there's Kaminoan scientists here, and there's a lot of commando units. What's going on? Could be the start of like the Death Trooper program. Maybe that's what Death Troopers are, right? Like that they're or the Purge Troopers, right? That they're altered somehow, even if it's not cloning, that they're genetically altered to do stuff different and be more powerful against stuff like the Jedi, bringing in like Inquisitors and all of that kind of stuff. So there are people saying that it could lead to stuff like that. But the Grogu and stuff, because of the scientists that Nala Se gets introduced to in the finale at the last like bit, that scientist is wearing the same exact clothing as the scientists from the Mandalorian that we meet.
Yes. Same outfit, same patch on the arm.
They have like goggles on that almost resemble the guy's glasses from Mandalorian. But regardless, clearly they're connected. Right.
I think they both are. I think.
But once again,
you saying it out loud connects it all, man.
But once again, like, it doesn't have to just be Palpatine, and I'm hoping that it's not just Palpatine. That there is more to this cloning like endeavor, right? Of theirs. There was a Phase 3 that Nala Se and Lama Su were talking about. A contingency, right? And they said it failed, but we never really found out what the heck the contingency was. They didn't really mention it. Did they?
No, I don't think
we don't see it happen. We just see him say like, it's not going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, they spoke about it in passing, but nothing more. It's tricky, right? Like, I agree with everything you literally said, even the theories. I personally think they're gonna happen, right? I agree. I'm super tired of Palpatine. I was okay with Palpatine being Rey's grandfather in Episode 9, and this is kind of a tangent, but it's called the Skywalker Saga. You killed the Skywalker, which was Ben, and it wouldn't make sense for Rey to fight Snoke and it be called the final film of the Skywalker Saga, because Rey was not a Skywalker until she took on the name at the end of the movie. And Snoke was not a enemy of the Skywalkers, so it wouldn't have made sense. So fine. JJ did what he had to do with the little bit he had in front of him. I get it. However, I do think that's where they're going. In Mandalorian Season 2, when they go into the cloning facility.
Yes,
the vats, they look like Snoke. Like, they clearly look like... it might not be, but they clearly look like Snoke.
Look...
And then it's...
I'm not going to say it's out of the picture quite yet, but Star Killer.
Dude, I would.
I don't know, man.
You can't.
I know. It's something that excites you, and it excites me too. But the truth of the matter is, they could canonize that, and fans, I think for the most part, tend to like Star Killer and like that whole entire like storyline and stuff. It's probably mixed. Yeah, I would probably say, yeah. Usually things like that are pretty split.
But I do think it's going in the direction of, unfortunately, Palpatine. I think everything
it's so early.
Grogu,
but it's so damn early. Like to really just like hardcore connect it.
Bro, Palpatine is crazy, dude. Like Palpatine is insane, man. Like, he's on another level of a Sith Lord, and he's obviously not my favorite. He's nowhere near my favorite Sith Lord, but he's on another level of like just mastermind. I wouldn't be, bro. Look at how long. Think about it.
He played the long game.
It's too early.
He's the master.
Dude, exactly.
Yeah, he's the master.
You
of playing the long game.
Too early,
literally.
bro. Episode 1, Anakin is. I think Episode 1 to 2 is like 12 years or some shit like that.
He's already like petting Anakin's head when he's like a kid.
And if you believe the theory, I load you. And if you believe the theory that he, and again, this is a theory.
Oh, that he put the midichlorians in
Anakin. Yeah, supposedly. Like,
Oh man, but come on, dude. Those are the types of questions that keep me up at night, and nobody has a freaking answer for it. Oh my god.
But that's what I'm saying. So it would.
Midichlorians are becoming more important.
Yes, and that's a whole nother topic as to how the original Star Wars fandom hated it.
But it's becoming much more important and is involved in Grogu's and the Kaminoans process and what they're experimenting with.
Is.
So,
look,
I don't know, man.
Chris, your worst nightmares are going to come true. I swear to God, I think season 3. Look, I think we're done with Grogu. For Mando season 3, Grogu's not in it.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what I believe in my heart,
sure,
right?
Sure.
He's gone.
I think we're going to see him at least in one episode.
Yes.
Or something.
I think so too, but we're clearly going into the direction of like Mandalore.
It's called the Mandalorian, not Grogu. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, Grogu heavily implied on the cloning. The scientists took blood samples. We saw the vats that looked like that looked like Snoke. Nala Se was the only person from Kamino that A, survived, and B, will survive. Because we know what Admiral Rampart said was that the clones are going to die. He's gathering all of them together. Done. He wants them done. Nala Se is the only person. Why, bro? She is their chief scientist.
Yeah, she knows everything.
Do you think Admiral Rampart and I don't think he's not Grand Moff yet, but Rampart and Tarkin right now are doing shit without Palpatine's, words?
Consent?
No. Absolutely not.
Definitely not. No.
That's my point. Why would they take Nala Se for the cloning process? Now, the reason I would love Starkiller. The reason I don't think it'll ever happen is because the Vader comics gave us too much into his personal relationship with Palpatine and too much information of stuff that's happened in between the.
But you're assuming that
Clone Wars
you're assuming that the audience is reading.
Correct.
And that is not true.
The comics are canon.
But that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that they won't want to canonize it on screen. That they won't want to put it and add more into Starkiller's background. Starkiller could act as a oh my god, a Ventress to them.
Fair.
You get what I mean? Like something like that. I think
it is going towards Palpatine though, and I think Starkiller is too much.
I mean, I think it's okay to assume that any cloning will eventually lead to Palpatine at this point. That's the 100%. Assumption. But to try and tie it to the point where you're putting Palpatine in his DNA and the cloning and it becomes the focus, because like I said, I feel like there's a lot more involved in Nala Se's work and what she's been working on. Right, because she wasn't working on cloning Palpatine. She was working on a bunch of different things, and she ended up with the Bad Batch. She ended up with Omega. There was a contingency that we don't really know about.
But Nala Se was in charge of we don't even know if she was in charge. Her lab was so secret that Omega said her knowledge. Why was Omega kept such a secret? Omega said she spent most of her time in Nala Se's lab, which dude was miles away from the city.
Yeah.
Nala Se was clearly up to shady shit.
Oh yeah,
whatever it was. So
would you say Nala Se is a bad person? Do you think that she is? Because she seems to want to protect Omega, even though because Lama Su wants Omega, but for he wanted her for the purpose of helping them with their third contingency.
I think Nala Se is more of a Frankenstein type character. Okay. Not right. I think she's just
loves her creations, kind of.
Yeah. Basically, because we know she recruited Fennec to go save Omega, not to capture Omega. So it's one of those things. I think Nala Se is just a Frankenstein's type of doctor. Look, man, we could be here all night. I guess then in this direction, with all these theories that we're literally talking about, out of everything we just said, what would you want to see in season 2? What would be, if you could paint your dream season 2, questions answered, what would it be?
I want to see a clone rebellion.
Really?
Yeah. I want to see cool. I think that's, so once again, based on things that I've been watching and reading up on, it seems to me that might be what Rex is working on in the background, is building up a rebellion for the clones specifically, because this is all about the clones.
Yes.
It's been about the clones. This isn't about stormtroopers, even though they will be very involved in this. It's about the clones and what they're experiencing. They are technically like a whole race at this point, right? Yeah, like straight up, like there's a lot of them, and they all have unique personalities, even though they are clones. So like any type of stories and number of stories can be told, because they're all like war vets, and they're all like doing different things. But I think it would be really, really cool to give us like what would essentially break off into every Legends story we've ever read of, like, you know, clone troopers, and once they've defected or once they've left and all that stuff. I think, you know, meeting characters like Hauser, because so Hauser, when that whole thing happens where he's like, you guys go, I'm going to walk out there. They know I'm going to be betraying them essentially. So I'm going to get captured. I don't care. Go. Right. That moment where like Hunter kind of like looks back at him and he's almost like, I want to save you, but I can't. Like, I want to tell you that the inhibitor chips are there, and like because Hunter's even like, yo, how are you not wanting to kill us right now? Why are you saving us? That moment was so good, because it really showed like they were in such a moment where they need to get the hell out of there, that he couldn't really ask anything or imply anything. He's just like, we gotta go. So
if he stayed any longer, they would have died.
Yeah, they for sure would have gotten captured or something. But it's moments like that cause me to believe like, oh, you know, Hunter may, you know, have passed this information on to Rex at some point, and Rex, you know, Gregor's now with us, I believe, like with Rex, and I assume he's gonna meet up with Rex. Or did he get captured again? What happened?
No,
I don't remember.
I don't remember if they say where they dropped him off. I
assume he's with Rex.
Yeah, I assume so too. 100%. It's in the third to last episode.
And I love Gregor.
I can't remember it. Yeah,
but that's another one. Like, why? Where did his chip get taken out? How did he? You know what I mean? Like, what's his story of the chip and defecting?
Yeah.
But I think season 2, I would like to see a clone uprising, like them trying to take over or trying to fight and defect.
But isn't that depressing that we know they're gonna fail?
But we don't know if they're necessarily not, like, they may fail at staying in the army. No, hear me out, because we know we've read clones. We've read stories about clones for a while.
Name every clone off the top of your head that is alive post this.
What clone that is alive do you think wants to be known that they are alive? They wouldn't. They're in hiding.
That's a very good point.
So don't give me that shit, okay? Don't. And I've read comics.
Order 66 never happens the way you want it to happen.
So no, I'm not saying that most of the clones that fight in this, you know, little mini civil war against troopers and clones or whatever, that, you know, that there isn't going to be a frick ton of casualties, because I assume there will be, right?
Yeah.
And the survivors will be Rex, Gregor, Wolf, maybe Hauser. Who knows what the heck is happening? Maybe he's dead already. I don't even know. He could just be taken prisoner. I really don't know. But the fact that could happen, and it would also really explain the final separation from the Empire having clones, probably keeping some. I would assume that there are still some clones that work for the Empire in the future, like some commando units or something that were veterans that like were really good in the war, and they decided their chips still functioned fully and they were still fully loyal, right? Like Crosshair. They still technically kept Crosshair around, even though I also have theories in season 2 that the Empire may start to try to get rid of him, and that may cause him to be a middle of like, I'm not with the Bad Batch, I'm not with
he clearly
the Empire.
chose to save Hunter. Like, he clearly chose to save Hunter.
I mean, yeah, but like, and Rampart says it, doesn't he? He's like, we thought you sided with with your brothers.
Says it when the stormtrooper. No, the stormtrooper that was sent to spy on him. That Rampart was like, go watch him or whatever. The girl, and she calls him and she's like, oh, the clone assisted them in escaping or whatever, because she saw him kill like
But see, the whole thing is like,
Rampart knows.
But if his inhibitor chip is at 100, 1000%, then why would he be letting them go? That's the question I have.
Bro. Dude, I mean, I don't work at Lucasfilm, bro.
I don't either.
Like,
we're their freaking puppets right now. We don't know what the heck is going on. We're spreading this theory, all of these theories.
My biggest thing though, the only thing I really care to see in season 2, and I'll be happy with whatever they show, especially a lot like what you said. My biggest thing though, I want more Omega, and I want her backstory. I want to know what her mutation is. I don't think, dude, if Nala Se made her, I don't think it's just that she ages slowly. Think Hunter, Wrecker, Tech, Crosshair, all of them have a specific mutation that make them better fighters. I think they've hinted at I think they've hinted at Omega's being tactician, like
that's with the chest thing,
tacticality, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
With the chest thing. Yeah.
I think that's hers, but I want a confirmation.
That would be
I
cool.
want them to somehow like rescue Nala Se or meet with her, and I want her to explain what Omega is. We don't know why she was created. We don't know what her thing is, and we don't know like why she's so special still. Like, sure, she could have been created just cause, but why is Omega so special? Why did Crosshair go after her? Why did Nala Se send Fennec after her? Why did the other guy, the politician, do that?
Everybody wants her. Everybody wants her.
Literally
wants her. Everybody wants her.
Like,
yeah.
Like why?
So somebody, I did hear someone say that it was because of the fact that they age slower, which implies longer life.
Yeah, of course.
So Palpy, you know, little Palpy, he loves to live and walk the earth.
Always there watching.
No, honestly, I agree, and I do want to see a lot more of Omega like growth. I want to see things take a more serious tone, and I want there to be more plot now, because that's what I feel like season 1, when I say it stretched too far, I feel like I didn't get a lot of things that really we could have gotten in terms of just some sort of plot growth. There was no plot growth. It all felt like character growth that they were focusing on, which is okay.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. You enjoy that. A lot of fans enjoy that, right?
Sometimes.
But I mean, like, we have a lot of their character growth throughout that whole season. The entire season, we're getting character growth. Obviously, Crosshair and him becoming and growing in the way that he is, and so on and so forth. But it's just like Omega, I want to see more from her. Like you said, she's practically leading the team at the end of everything, and they listen to her so much in terms of stuff, which that also falls into that tactical mindset of hers that she might have that's a little stronger than others.
If she wasn't there, they would have died on Camino.
Yeah,
hands down.
Yeah, for sure.
They would have died on Camino. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
So here's my question to you.
Shoot.
Do you think we get a time skip?
No.
Do you think this is right after they leave?
Yeah, I would love a time skip, but I don't think so, just because of the way the aging works. I mean, if we can assume, bro, like if we get a time skip,
we can skip. I think they can skip pretty far.
I think. Yeah, no, you're right, because I was gonna say they'll be old and decrepit, but
I think they can make her like Ahsoka's. What Ahsoka is at the end of Clone Wars, they can make her look that old. She'll obviously still be older, but she ages differently. Yeah, the other guys already look like adults.
Yeah, and Rex in Rebels isn't like, he looks old with the white beard, but he's not like old. Yeah, and Rebels is so much past Clone Wars. So yeah, if they skip,
they could have aged a little bit.
Years. Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad.
At that point in time, Boba Fett would be an adult Boba Fett.
Yes, and he'd be able to go to them, get questions, team up with them.
There could be a lot there, which would be really cool too, because we probably will see some Omega Boba Fett at some point. Like,
I would assume so.
Some sort of run-in.
She is the closest thing to his sibling than any other clone.
Yo, you know how she feels about family. She's like, bro, you're my bro, come here, brother. We're brothers.
My brother.
Yeah, my brother.
You're my brother, Boba. You're my brother.
We're brothers.
Hunter, we need to save him. Oh, dude, I loved her, and I hated her in the beginning.
That's how I felt about her. Was like, I loved her. I understand that this is how her character is, and that's a defining factor of this character. But my God, sometimes I'm just like, shut up! Not everything is positive. I don't care what you.
Very optimistic.
Shit, like sometimes too freaking optimistic. It's like, we'll save everyone, can't we? It's like, bitch, they are putting their lives on the line for you over and over. Holy smokes!
Crosshair was down to kill her, and she's like, no, Hunter, we have to save Crosshair.
You know what bothered me too? You know what bothered me too? was always her one-liners with Crosshair, right? It was always like, you know, they're still your brothers, and then she'd walk away, and Crosshair's just like,
and what's fucked up? That's how the season ends. Man.
Literally, dude, literally, it's what she says to them. She's like, they're still your brothers. They love. And then when she goes to sit next to him, because Crosshair is there, like ready to hear a conversation from Omega that he loves so much, and she goes up to him. She's like, I really hoped it wasn't your inhibitor chip messing with you still. Man. And then she just walks away. She drops that on him, and he's like, son of a.
If he goes back to normal, it's because of her words, bro. She's the Naruto of the Star Wars universe.
There are people saying that they think that Crosshair might sacrifice himself for the brothers, but it might even be for Omega.
Oh, dude, I would cry. I would cry.
I better see him do some more dark. I want to see a lot of Crosshair specific development in this next one.
So do
I want to see him go through it. I want to see him really struggle between like, who am I? What am I? Like.
He's such a cool character, man, because like part of you wants to like hate him because he's going against the Bad Batch, and part of you like I don't know, dude, like I hate him, I feel bad for him, I sympathize with him, I understand. Like there's so much that Crosshair does or says that I'm just like, I hate you for saying that, but I get it, but that's fucked up, and I'm sorry you're dealing with it. Like literally all those emotions flood me at the same time, and dude, he is
it's kind of like the Anakin. It's kind of like the Anakin effect.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what
it's kind of like the Vader effect, where you're like, oh, like you are the way you are, but in reality, there is still like some sort of ulterior motive that you have that is built off passion and like wanting to like love, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Vader's a scumbag.
Tragic,
no
bro, but he's got a tragic life, man. Oh my God.
He did what he did for love.
Dude, that panel where he goes into the chambers that he meditates in, and it's just all of the faces of the Jedi that he's killed. And he's just like removing his helmet. Dude, that panel, that image is just like ingrained.
Have you read the Vader comics?
I've read a lot of it. I haven't read all of it.
My God, bro. Masterpieces.
Yeah,
they quickly made Darth Vader, like not even Anakin, just Darth Vader, such a like, oh my God, bro, I feel bad for the guy. Like it's not even like he's just a bad guy. He's just.
But I think that's what makes him like an outlier to the Sith. Right.
Yes.
That's what makes him the chosen one, or that's what makes him, you know what I mean? It's the fact that he was good and bad. It was the good and bad in him, and like the struggle between both, and then him finally siding with it. But at his core, he was still someone who wanted to do something good and loved his children and so on and so forth. You know, that's a whole other Star Wars love that we have.
So to finish it off, do you have anything else about the Bad Batch you want to say before we close it out?
Two things.
Shoot.
Number one, the clones being the ones that destroyed Kamino, and the impact that has, where they were the ones that literally pushed the buttons to destroy Kamino.
Their home. Yeah,
and that one clone that like sends the message saying like Kamino has been destroyed, and all this stuff, and how like almost like pissed off he sounds, or like upset about having to have done that, which also leads me to believe the whole rebellion and uprising thing may be happening. I think that's a thing that's going to happen.
That's a very good point.
But second, right, is I thought this was actually really funny that I saw in a video, which was when they leave Crosshair, based on the type of platform that it is and the way it works, the platform should go back underwater when the ship leaves. So he's gonna be just like in the water, like drowning again, dude.
Just waiting
for it to get picked up by the Empire, dude. I thought that was really funny.
True.
I thought that was very funny.
There's no way nobody can say that Star Wars doesn't have plot holes, man.
Also, little Easter egg, right? Or not Easter egg, but everything being connected with all the stuff that we've been given from Star Wars was going to Braca. That's from Jedi Fallen Order, and that is where they remove their inhibitor chips, and that's why we see all of the.
That's where Fallen Order starts.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, and I didn't take note of that till today.
I didn't realize that until you just said it.
Yeah, obviously them tying Fennec.
Yeah, that's where Cal works.
But yeah, Cal Kestis starts on Braca, and that's where we start that game. So we got to see Braca again, and it being being used. I'm gonna play it again too, man. I'm excited. But I also, as a final note, this is I think my real final note, right?
Shoot.
Season finale had 2 parts. Mm-hmm. Part 1 was amazing. Part 2 for me fell short. Part
really?
2, part 2, even though it had like little things, it was all about just them escaping. Like everything felt so much more climactic in part 1 as a finale than the second episode did. The second episode almost pulled away from that finale vibe a little bit.
See, I'm on the opposite. I think part 2, like the final episode, was so what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say impact. I don't know how to say it. Like what I'm trying to say. Just to give you like, dude, I don't even know how to word it. The fact that the final episode was simply them literally running for their lives in what should have been an inescapable situation. The fact that their home was getting destroyed around them, and the music was so somber.
The music was amazing. The music was amazing. And,
oh my god!
Oh my god!
I felt sad. Like that entire finale, I felt sad. Like I knew they were gonna survive because they had already announced season 2 like 2 weeks prior. Yeah. But like just watching them try to survive and escape, and the way the music was playing and how dark, literally how dark the whole episode was. I was just sitting down watching it, and I was like, bro, this hurts.
Yeah,
but I felt for them, man. Like, yeah, I felt like the aftermath when they left was a little too cheery or too like bright, not literally this time, but just metaphorically. Because
but that's the episode. Is them escaping. It's them in that room at the bottom of the thing talking, and then getting into the pods and going up. That is the second episode of the finale. Whereas but the ending of the first episode is literally, and then the score for that happening, and then being like, this was our home and this feels, and it should have stopped there. I think it should have stopped there and then picked up like afterwards, or like. So, or ended with them escaping super quickly. You know what I mean? Like some last thing. Obviously, that took away.
It was so like
there was impactful stuff. There was impactful stuff because it was the whole thing. Honestly, it was more impactful. I feel like for Omega, it was impactful for all of them, but for Omega more than anything because she didn't want to go back to Kamino. Hunter literally promised her she'd never have to go back, and a couple episodes they're back, and she not only went but. She watched it fall. She had lived her whole life there, longer than they had. And she had to go back through the lab that she
was
grew up in and saw them grow up in and was closest to Nala Se with and all of this stuff. So for her, it was really impactful. But I still feel like it should have, like the impact that the destruction of Kamino had, them getting trapped in there even, I would have maybe rather seen that kind of stuff happen in the next, like, following season or something.
I think, I could see what you mean, where basically if it had ended on the second to last episode, and then the last episode, if the last episode was the first episode of season 2, that would be an awesome opening.
I think that would have been, that would have been a cool thing. Yeah.
That would be an awesome, you know what? I can agree with that.
And then it would have picked up from there. But regardless, I think it looks to be that I have everything that I covered here on my notes. Everything was talked
my notes
about.
Are good. I was going to ask you about Star Wars in general. I was going to say like, oh, are you excited for the Kenobi show? But that is,
that's literally another. We're going to do another one on that because we're going to talk about Visions.
Well, dude, once that trailer comes out.
Yeah, and Kenobi, my God. Yeah,
I'm so hyped.
Yeah, we're going to talk about like the same way that we did with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the phase that it's in now and what we're expecting to see and our theories and stuff, we'll do an episode on Star Wars, and we'll run through some of the shows and movies that they've announced and so on, and we'll talk about those, because Visions looks really, really cool. We know we're getting Kenobi, the Book of Boba, all of this kind of stuff.
Mando season 3 eventually.
We're getting a lot. So
yeah. And EA has confirmed, not EA, I forgot the studio that did it, but Jedi Fallen Order 2 has been confirmed. Been confirmed in development.
Very nice.
So yeah, man, we're getting, Star Wars fans are eating good, man.
Yeah.
We're eating good.
Thank you, Disney.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think that's a good point to end the episode. Thank you guys for watching so much, or listening wherever you are doing this, whether it is on Podbean, YouTube. Unfortunately, we are trying to get on Apple and Spotify right now. We are going through the process. Apple is very, like, I guess, hardcore. They're like, you want to be a podcaster? You need to earn it. So we're trying. If you haven't checked out our social media, please do. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Just go give us a follow if you enjoyed this video, or wherever you're watching, please give a like, a positive comment, or a negative comment. I would love to hear what people say.
Tell us when we're wrong. Tell us when we're wrong.
Yes.
We never are opposed to being corrected, especially if it's in something that is like factual, and you can be like, this is actually what happened, or this is actually what's going on. Please tell us, because that's literally why we talk and why we enjoy having these conversations, because we want to learn. We are also still learning, and we are also still human. So whether we get things right or wrong, we have our own opinions, but please feel free to correct us and give us your opinions, because that's how the world works.
This is a Star Wars episode, so I'm sure we'll get a lot of opinions.
Oh yeah. We know that people who love Star Wars really love their Star Wars.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. My name has been Eric, or the Western Senpai. I am joined with Chris, the Multiversal Wizard, for episode 1. Tune in next time, where we might be talking about the What If series.
Yeah. What if we talked about the what if?
What if we talked about
Later, guys.
Good night.